Welcome to HCAM series, all about getting to know the fascinating people who have dedicated themselves to make Hopkinton the place that it is today. We'll learn about their jobs and projects they are working on, but more importantly, we'll learn about who they are, their hobbies and interests, and why they do what they do. I'm Silly Donda, and this is Out on the Town. Today I'm here with Danielle Cook and Jack Miller. Danielle is Hopkinton's Reference and Technology Supervisor, and Jack is Hopkinton's Young Adult Librarian. They're here to talk to us about Banned Books and Banned Books Week, which is taking place from October 1st to October 7th. Welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it.
So, for people who don't know, what exactly is book banning?
So book banning can take a couple different forms. Book banning usually starts with a book challenge, which is where someone says, I don't like this book for XYZ reasons. I don't think it should be in a library's collection. And that can escalate all the way up to that book being removed from that collection. In the United States, we're seeing that in a number of places. However, recently we've also seen legislation come through in states like Texas and Florida, where certain categories of books are being banned for entire sectors. So it's something that happens a lot in school libraries, where a bunch of books that normally would be in that library are being removed from those libraries or not being put in those libraries in the first place. So it can take a lot of different forms. In public libraries, usually it's an individual who comes and says, I don't believe this book should be in the library, or I don't believe this book should be in this section of the library. And the book may stay there, the book may be moved, or the book may be removed.
Is it up to the discretion of the librarians, or who decides whether the book gets moved or not?
That depends on the library. Occasionally it's the department supervisor. Sometimes it's the library director. Sometimes it's the board of trustees. So for example, here in Hopkinton, we have a library board of trustees. They would be pulled into it. Sometimes it's the mayor. Sometimes it really depends on how your library is set up.
So in Hopkinton, we also have a reconsideration form, which is available on our website. And you have to meet a bunch of criteria to submit a book for reconsideration. And that can be for many reasons. There are some books out there that, for instance, are no longer factual. And this is in addition to librarians do something that we call weeding. And weeding is very important within a library collection. There are some books that meet these criteria for weeding. For instance, we follow the MUSTY criteria. It's just a little acronym that we use as librarians. And basically, it's certain things like the material is old and out of date, or it is falling apart. It's physically kind of icky. You don't want to keep materials like that. Or it has information that has now been superseded by other information that is more accurate. Take, for instance, it happens a lot in science books, in texts, that we have great advances in different fields of science or in technology. It's cool that, Windows for Dummies, that was a really cool book, but now we're on Windows 10. We're not going to keep, or now, are we on Windows 10?
11.
Yep. We're past that point. So we may not want to be keeping the Windows for Dummies when we should have Windows 11 for Dummies. So there's stuff that gets deaccessioned out of our collections just because also no library is infinite. We don't have space for everything that comes out forever and ever. So some of these materials naturally go away just because they don't meet that criteria. Also, we have collection development policies, which each section of all libraries, most libraries should have a collection development policy. The American Library Association has example collection development policies to help librarians and libraries and library boards of trustees and towns and schools figure out how to curate their collection. In a public library, our collection development, and everyone can go online and read what our policy is, but it basically says that we have materials that offer a variety of viewpoints for people for their recreational and their informational and educational I'm not going to say enlightenment, but for their enjoyment and their needs. And that is different because each person has different needs when they come into a library. And those materials that we select from a variety of reasons, from library journals or the New York Times bestseller list or a recommendation that was received, or a request from the community to show that there's community interest in a material. And then we evaluate it to make sure that it is a material that would be interesting to the community or serves a purpose, like people want to know about a certain new technology, or people want to learn about something, or it's just the latest bestseller by Danielle Steele, which is awesome as well. And so we develop and bring everything into the collection for that. But if someone has a question about a material in the collection, like say there are a lot of materials, for instance, that were taken out of a bunch of collections, not necessarily our collection, but all collections, because they were materials that talked about, for instance, Thanksgiving in a way that wasn't factual, and we knew that, or were in a way that was denigrating to different Native American communities. All right, well, those materials were in many places reconsidered, and then better or newer materials were purchased to take their place to give a more factual and more respectful discussion on that topic. In Hopkinton, we do plenty of reconsideration within our weeding process, but if patrons want to have a reconsidered book, they just have to go onto our website, take a look, and fill out our reconsideration form, and then that's how we handle it there. And then that'll go through the process.
So the reconsideration form, that doesn't sound like it always has to be a contentious issue. Like removing certain books to replace them with newer books that are more accurate, that sounds like it's serving patrons. So, but I know book banning kind of has like a very like negative term for it. So why is book banning bad? Can you explain some of that, please?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a there's definitely a gray area in the middle where you can talk about why books are removed. So I think that Jack was very good to get into the process of deaccessioning and weeding, where we take a book and say, you know what, when we bought this book, it was serving purpose XYZ, and it's not serving that purpose anymore. And sometimes, like she said, that can be up to just the physical condition of the book. You know, this book is really old, it's grimy, it's got some pasta stains on it. You know, we may not want to be sending this out anymore, somebody's dog chewed on it. But it can be all the way up to, if somebody is looking for a book on helping guide them through a cancer treatment, a book from 20 years ago is not going to be helpful to them because cancer guidelines have changed so much. Mm-hmm. So there's that where you're getting rid of a book because it no longer serves its purpose. When we talk about book banning, we're more frequently talking about attempts to remove a book because people disagree with the ideas in that book. Mm-hmm. So on the ALA, every year the ALA, the American Library Association, comes out with a list of the top 10 most challenged books every year. And in the past couple of years, we've seen that the majority of the books on that list deal with themes around LGBTQIA folks and folks of color. And so these are not books where people are saying, oh, well, this book has outdated cancer treatments in it, or this book has, it's a cookbook from the 70s and nobody likes Jell-O molds anymore. Folks are saying,
but people do like Jell-O molds.
Some people do like Jell-O molds. That's not really my thing. But if you like Jell-O molds, I'm not going to judge you. We do have books for that. We might have fewer books for that because they were a much bigger thing in the 70s than they are now. But we probably have 1 or 2 books on Jell-O molds. But instead we have challenges where folks are saying, I think that this book should not be on the shelf because it shows a certain type of person, and I don't like that type of person. And that is something that is really harmful for a couple reasons, especially in public libraries. And one is because public libraries are here to serve everybody. We're here to serve people who are white and look like me and Jack. We are here to serve people who are Southeast Asian descent and who look like you. We are here to serve folks who are Black and folks who are queer and folks who are Indigenous and folks who are Christian and folks who are Jewish and folks who are Muslim and we are here to serve all types of folks. And so it's really important that the books on our shelves reflect that, because we want anyone who comes into the library to be able to find a book that reflects their world and reflects their community. And so if you have a movement that is trying to remove books that reflect these people, you suddenly no longer have a collection that reflects your community. And that is really harmful, because not everybody is the same. And that means that we need books that are different and that show those differences.
So yeah, you kind of touched upon this a little bit, but so why is it important to have access to those diverse books and those diverse materials?
Yeah. So that's what I was getting into. Do you have anything else to add about that?
Definitely. I think it's important to have diverse materials for many reasons, not just so that way people can see themselves, but also so people can see others. For instance, we have some really great books on disability awareness. And that is something that, for instance, when I was a kid, we never had. I would never have seen that. And because of that, it, I think, limited my worldview on people's differing abilities, and how that is an important part of our society and culture, is honoring those abilities. And because of that, that was a limiting experience for me personally. And now that there are more books on that and people can see others, not just themselves, it provides not just visibility, but also opportunity within a community for discussion and conversation. So that's one of the big reasons why it matters. So not even just, and not only seen disabilities or seen identities, a lot of people don't necessarily have understanding around difference that is maybe unseen or private. And so by offering diverse books that offer diverse viewpoints, you get a little bit more exposure.
Yeah, in the library world, we talk about mirrors and windows, that certain books are mirrors to yourself so that you can see yourself in them, and that other books are windows into somebody else's way of being or experiencing the world. And that both of those, the mirrors and the windows, are really important.
I love that framework for describing like the different types of books, and I think why people enjoy reading, because it lets you like almost see another world that you wouldn't be able to necessarily experience yourself, which is very powerful. So how can individuals support and get involved in Banned Books Week?
Yeah, so there are a couple different ways. One is you can reach out to your legislator and let them know that books are important to you and that you appreciate being able to access all types of different books in your library. One is as simple as going to your library and checking a book out. We'd love that. We'd love to see you. Folks can also visit our library on Thursday, October 5th. We will be holding a read-in. So we will actually be not in the library unless it rains. Mm-hmm. We will be down on the town common. If it rains, we will be in the library. And bring a book or borrow a book from one of us. Jack and I will both be there. Mm-hmm. And read something that you enjoy, just to have some chill time and to read.
So what exactly is a read-in? It sounds really interesting.
Yeah, so the idea was drawn from the concept of a sit-in. And we're not, I mean, we will be sitting.
We will be.
But
you don't have to, though.
You don't have, we're not going to force you to sit.
You can stand and read, too.
You can stand and read, too.
Some books might be hard.
No judgment.
Yeah, no judgment. You can do what you want.
And that's the point. No judgment. You do what you want. Bring a book, read.
Listen.
Listen. The point is that we're all getting together to share something that we enjoy. And we all may enjoy it in very different ways. So I'm a really big science fiction and fantasy reader. Jack likes her romance.
Heck yeah.
We have folks in our library, like the children's librarian really loves to read her picture books because she likes to know what's on her shelf. We all enjoy different types of books. And the point is for us to all enjoy the fact that we all enjoy reading together by reading whatever it is that we like.
So I just want to make sure you don't actually have to read a banned book or a challenge book at this. You can read any book you'd like.
Any book you like. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm bringing my sci-fi book.
And the whole idea is that any book could become a banned book depending on what certain people feel about that book. A book that I may see as completely innocuous and like it is just speaking to me might be really objectionable to another person, or might be very interesting to another person. So being able to have access to all books, regardless of what someone else thinks about it, is really the point of it. I'm pretty sure that no one's gonna take any issue with my very mild Western romances that I'm planning on reading. Don't ask. Current interest. For some reason, it's scratching whatever itch that needs to be scratched. But for some people, that might not be their jam. But I like to have the ability to be able to read what I want to read. And I also like to have the ability to have anyone else read what they want to read, regardless of how strange it is.
Yeah, those Western romances are really not my jam, but
No.
I love how happy they make you.
They make me very happy.
No, and I think that's a really important distinction to draw. And correct me if I'm wrong, banned books, like the issue with that is people are challenging them not because it's factually incorrect, just because they don't like the ideas in them or the thoughts in them. Whereas some books that are maybe not as circulated as widely or taken out of curation are just being replaced with newer, more informative books that have the same information, but it's just more relevant to today.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we don't want to ban information or remove types of ideas. We want to make sure that what we have is factually correct and relevant, of course, and that folks are reading and enjoying what they're finding on our shelf. But we don't want to remove ideas because we live in a democracy. It's important that everybody is able to read what they like and engage with the ideas that they're interested in, and they shouldn't be judged for that. And it's not our place to tell them what they can and cannot read.
And if there's something that, especially in public libraries, in our library specifically, that if a patron comes in and does not necessarily see themselves reflected in our collection or see information on a topic that they want to be able to explore, we have a suggestion form that people can fill in. Hey, I don't see any books on, Jell-O molds circa 1950 to 1970. Okay, cool. Let me, see if there's more interest in the community so we could purchase an item for that if there's interest in that. Or even if there's not, we're part of a library consortium, which allows us to access materials from all across the state and even across the world. We can get anything that anyone has an interest in. Will we necessarily purchase that? No, maybe not, because maybe there's not a broad enough interest, but we can definitely get it. So we want to be able to use Banned Books Week as well to bring awareness that there is something in the library for everyone, and that by banning books, that may restrict people's access to the information that they want, even if it's not information that you are necessarily cool, that's going to interest you. That's okay. You don't have to take it out. And we want to support everyone taking out the information that they want, whether it's a book or a CD or a DVD or a digital material or an audiobook or an e-audiobook, a magazine, a Library of Things item, a Wi-Fi hotspot, a picture book. We have all sorts of materials that people should all have access to if they want that access.
Yeah, and not all of those are for everyone. Board books, not really my thing, but they should be there for the kids.
Well, Danielle and Jack, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and explain to us banned books and what that means. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we'll see you all at the reading.
Yes, of course.